if there was a pre-existing injury, somebody would have noticed it. 80 million just on my accounts. You know, that number's got to be massive, and nobody noticed anything, so.
I felt obligated to make another video. I just made a video about this last night. But some of the stuff that I saw on Twitter and in YouTube comments made me feel like I might need to say a few more things. I didn't want to be left civilly liable if I decided to keep my mouth shut. One of the reasons I knew for sure I had to come back was not to just continue repeating stuff I've already said, but Dana White, some of Dana White's behavior at the post-fight press conference last night made things even more suspicious. So some of you might already know all of this, but others of you that have families and lives and do other things besides watch 100 YouTube videos a day on the topic of MMA, let me bring you up to speed. People during the post-fight press conference were telling Dana White, hey, oh, by the way, I'll show you in a little bit. I'm one of these people. I had suspicions even before it happened. I didn't start going back in time. I didn't hop in my time machine after the fight and say, wait a minute, now that this happened, let me go. But I said it at the very beginning of my fight companion. I started talking about some weird stuff I saw. I'll show you that in a little bit. But last night at the post-fight press conference, people were telling Dana White, hey, people were noticing in some video before the fight, this looked weird, that looked weird. And Dana's like, what? You don't think someone would have said something? You don't think someone would have noticed? And it was kind of weird. He was kind of just trying to blow it off like always. They're like, but Dana, we saw footage of Conor McGregor looking weird and off balance. He's like, we're going to talk about it Tuesday. Don't talk about that right now. We're going to get together and talk about it on Tuesday. What? What'd you say? I can't hear them. What's wrong with these microphones? We're going to talk about it on Tuesday. He was doing his whole thing, you know? And he left. Dana White always wants to get out of there. You done? Okay, we done? Okay, all right, you done? Why are you asking me questions? I understand this is a press conference, but you know I don't like answering questions. Yes, everything's for Tuesday, or if it's about boxing, ask me in a year. Ask me in a year. If you guys watch, then this is funny. If you guys watch a lot of his content, you know this is funny. Ask me in a year. What'd I say? Ask me in a year, okay? That's his, well, I can't hear you. There's 3 of them. I can't hear you. Here's a pull string. Shh. I can't hear you. What do you say? Shh. You know, we talk about that on Tuesday. Can you ask me something I can answer tonight? Shh. Boxing? Ask me in a year. You guys already know this. So he always just wants to move on. He's tired. He has a lot going on. He almost had a heart attack. So he leaves. He got his wish. He's gone. He came back. Now, I don't know about you. I've never seen Dana do this before. And methinks the Dana White doth protest this too much it. Because he comes back. And I'll show you a video right now, because I might not do it justice. You'll be like, oh, actually, you know, look at this. And the stats show, you know, all these viewers there. 80 million people watched the ceremonial weigh-ins, the pre-fight. Yeah. You're telling me all these people watched it. Nobody noticed? All these people watched it. Nobody noticed that his leg was hurt. Yeah, there's no way that he was hurt. You think he was hurt? You're crazy. We're going to talk about that on Tuesday. You think he was hurt? Oh, 80 million. Hold on. Yeah, 80 million people watched it. And you don't think somebody would have sent an email or something saying, hey, I think it looks hurt? And, right? You guys all heard that? Write that down. It was weird. He came back and made it worse. And I didn't even look last night, but right now, before I started recording this, I went back and I was looking in the chat. And I was like, are there other people out there that saw this? And everyone's like, Dana, bro, now you're making everyone suspicious. Dana, now you're trying too hard. Dana, relax. And it's like, okay, it's not just me. He came back to do some kind of like damage control and thought that it was a good argument to say, look at how many people watched. Don't you think someone would have, as if you read the comments or whatever, Dana, it would be very interesting to go through all that chat and the comments on the ceremonial weigh-ins and see what people actually were saying. Because it doesn't matter how many people were watching, Dana. Are you telling me that you skim through the comments and see what people are saying? Like, what's that? method of them letting you know that they saw something. Because let me tell you something, Dana, I saw something. So, okay, I'm going to play the clip. Of Dana White being suspicious and coming back and making things worse. Hey, roll the clip.
So, we were talking about the guy over here earlier asking about there being a pre-injury. Just on my accounts, the face-off that day is at 80 million views, right? So, if there was a pre-existing injury, somebody would have noticed it. He was limping, put his shoes on, he ran right at him. I don't think there was. Anything is possible, but he sure didn't look like it. And for 80 million just on my accounts, that number's got to be massive, and nobody noticed anything, so there you go.
So he was saying, don't you think somebody would have said something? This doesn't make any sense. All those people, nobody would have spoke up. Well, I did, Dana. At the very beginning of my fight companion yesterday, I started saying hello to the people, and I said, hey, did anybody see the ceremonial weigh-ins? That was crazy. Conor looked funny. Dude couldn't even put his shoes on. I'll go back in time and show you.
I was actually tempted to come back in here and make a video just to talk about that because it was so funny. And it almost seemed like a Three Stooges kind of moment. Like, you could see, like, Conor was getting kind of kind of frustrated. And I don't know who that guy was that was, like, helping him out. You know how they always have, like, a dude that comes out with them and they help him, like, hold their shirt and stuff like that? There was some guy with them that I didn't recognize. But he was, like, trying to figure it out with him, like, hold this. Then he couldn't get his shoes on. Then he couldn't tie his shoelaces. And I was like, is he sponsored or something? Because I saw him. I don't know if you guys saw it. I know we all see different bits of video here and there. But he was in some kind of interview. Some kind of video, I don't know, Conor McGregor a few days ago. And I saw him talking with someone about some shoes he was using. It might have been the Complex video. He was talking about these Nike shoes that he really liked, and he was like going on and on about them. And then now at the weigh-ins, he was like, I have to put these shoes on. He like insisted, and it was weird, and he was like off balance. I thought like he's gonna fall down. And it was like, people in the chat were like, what is happening? All aura lost. What's happening? This is cringy. He's falling down. It took forever. It went on. And then like the dude that was with McGregor had to like do small talk with Joe Rogan because everyone's like, what do we do now? And I think I saw one of the ring card girls. She actually stopped smiling. It got awkward.
Okay, so I didn't go back in time. This wasn't some revisionist kind of stuff where after it happened, I was like, let me go look in time and try to like reverse engineer it. Yeah, I think he was injured. I said it at the very beginning, he looked weird. Something is off. So I already showed you this yesterday. I'm going to show you again real quick. Not only did he look really weird and off balance when he was trying to take off his shoe right before the fight, he looked like that at the ceremonial weigh-ins. Same thing. And something that I need to point out, I saw people on Twitter talking about this moment because other people were posting it. And they were like, oh, nice try. You think this shows that his right leg was injured? This the left leg, stupid. Look at how he lands on the left leg. And it's, dude, how do you not know that that's what it looks like when you're nursing an injured leg? He clearly was like hopping and putting all his weight on the left leg because he didn't want to put weight on the right leg. But people were seeing that. I don't even know how that's possible. People were seeing that footage saying, look, he's stumbling on the left leg and his left leg looks weird and is off balance. But it was the right leg, you dummies. You got it twisted. Try again. That's what it looks like. There's not many more times or ways I can say that. If you don't follow that, it doesn't matter what I say. So he clearly put all his weight on the left leg because he didn't want to put it on the right leg. And then there was the footage at the ceremonial weigh-ins where he also looked off balance again. And he was stumbling again. And he was putting weight on the left leg again. And then he was taking forever to put his shoes on because lowering down in that position would have been very uncomfortable for him. Holding, that weight at, in the position that you're in when you put your shoes on. And that's why it took him so uncomfortably long to do that and actually get up there on the scale. And then, of course, there's all the funny faces that he was making and everything. Like if he was about to, like he was walking the Green Mile. It was like if he was on his way to his execution or something like that. It was very weird. But I don't want to read too much into that because it could have been indigestion. It could have been nervousness. He hadn't been in there in a long time. He could have just had a fight with his lady. He could have just got a text message backstage because he was about to get another big payday. That maybe now he has another accuser, like perfect timing. Who knows? that face could have meant a lot of different things, so I don't want to focus too much on that. I did really want to put a lot of emphasis on what Dana said, which was way too defensive, which makes it look more suspicious than it did before. Really pointing out what was happening with which leg and why some people are confused about that. And then also, there's this doctor, he's become like the MMA, UFC doctor dude that's always making these videos about different injuries. And I want to point this out. When I was watching the fights last night, they kept doing the replay. And I got to be honest, I was like, I don't see it. I remember when it happened with Oldberg, you saw some weird thing like ricochet or something like in his calf and like hop all over the, like you could see movement. You couldn't see it with McGregor. And there was a very interesting moment when they were replaying it. DC, I think he said it like twice, which like Dana, it made it worse. DC was like, oh yeah, you could see it on his face. When I heard DC say you could see it. So then I was like, well, I guess you can see it. So I went back, I rewinded, and I was like, where is it? And then I let it play a little more. He goes, yeah. Oh, you could see it on his face. And I was like, bro. And then he said it again. Oh, yeah. Oh, you can see it on his face. And I was waiting for Rogan or Anik or someone to maybe comment on that. But of course they wouldn't. But even DC, even the people right there that had everything in slow motion, they were right there front and center. They could replay it over and over, zoom in. They were saying basically how I felt. Yeah, I don't see it in the leg, but I see it on his face.
Oh, yep. You can see it already. Right, you can see it in his face. You saw it in his face whenever he did it.
Here's what I'm trying to say. There's a little bit of weirdness here. And I wish I would have started off the video by reminding people, not a Conor fan, not a Max fan. Do you understand how much hate I get for not being a Max fan? Everybody loves the dude. I guess he's a lovable dude. But I've also never, ever been a Conor fan, and I built this channel on my distaste and disdain for Conor McGregor. So I'm very neutral here. But I didn't see an injury in the leg. The commentators clearly didn't see an injury in the leg. It was all speculation. They were saying maybe it was this, maybe it was that. It could have been the way. Maybe it was an ACL thing, an MCL thing, a meniscus thing. Some people were saying maybe it was his hamstring. People didn't know because you couldn't see it. And then that Sutterer dude, that doctor that does all the MMA injury videos, he was saying, I can't see it. I don't see anything. Maybe it was something internal. Maybe, and they jumped to that right away, by the way. In case you don't know the UFC, they kept calling it something internal need, this and that, internal. Trying to let people know, hey, we understand you don't see it, but relax. It's in there, trust us. And the doctor dude was saying, yeah, maybe like the commentators, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't see anything. And then he was kind of picking at something like maybe, and I forgot the word he used. You could watch his video. There was a part like on the upper thigh that he said kind of looked like it was coming, but he's like, it's probably just a shift in his weight and his, maybe even just his muscle or his flesh or something just kind of shifted. You know, like when you see Power Slap and their whole face. Bleh. So he's like, he's basically saying, I don't see anything. That was my takeaway from his video. He said, I don't see anything. Maybe because of the movement, maybe something on the meniscus side. And that makes it even worse because that diagnosis was his way of saying, and again, you watch the video, that was basically his way of saying, I gotta go with meniscus because I'm not seeing the things that are usually very, very visually prominent when it's something else like ACL, MCL, whatever. So he basically had to say, well, if this is real and he's actually injured, it's probably this. So we're kind of in a weird spot because there's two ways you could go with this. And just humor this for a moment. I'm not saying I believe in this, but there's if you want to call it, and I hate saying this because a lot of times people use this word because they just want to shut down a narrative. But there's the conspiracy angle where Conor has wanted out of his contract. The UFC don't want to let him out of the contract. Who knows about the White House thing? They didn't let him fight at the White House. I don't know if he's that upset about that because maybe it made sense to him. I could make more money outside the White House. I don't care. Either way, he's wanted out. They don't want to let him out. He wants to do other things. And I joked around about it a stream or 2 or 3 or 4 ago. I don't remember. But something that's very new here on the channel, which I very recently did again, all my live streams ever are live again and public. Who cares about the algorithm? The algorithm is I upload every single day now. So come back every day. Don't wait for notification. They won't send them. So I don't care about the algorithm. My new algorithm is every day. That's what it is. So all my streams are, one of the streams I said, you know what would be funny? Because people kept saying, he's going to pull out. He's going to pull out. He never comes to pull, even though he's only ever pulled out once. And it was clear that he was injured. But anyway, again, I'm not even a fan. I'm just an MMA truther. I said, wouldn't it be funny if, because, and I can't remember the exact way to word it properly, but you know how there's like a legality where, yes, he's under contract and they won't let him out. And in that contract, they have to, it's something like they have to let him or offer him fights as long as he wants to. Something like that. That probably sounds familiar. Some of you probably know more about that. So I was thinking, like, what if he's like, yes, you guys got to give me a fight. I want to fight right now. Give me a fight. And then they give it to him and then he pulls out. And they're like, what the heck? We put all the marketing. We did all this and that. He's like, let me out of the contract then. As long as I sign up, as long as I say I want to fight, you got to give me a fight. And if I don't make it, oh, boo-hoo, I'm sorry. Maybe I don't feel good. My stomach hurt. And then I say, okay. And then he'll say, okay, give me another fight when the 6 months, a year, whatever comes around where his window's like, you know, he could ask for a fight again. And they're like, okay, fine, we got to give him one or else he could sue us or we have to let him out of the contract. Okay, we'll give you another fight. And then he pulls out at the last second, let me out of the contract if you don't like it. And I was messing around that he could play this stupid game with them and just burn them and embarrass them and upset them and pull out to try to, you know, I remember when I was in junior high one time, I would do that, you know, because I felt bad, you know, like breaking up with girls or whatever. So then you start acting like a jerk and you make them break up with you. It's that kind of a setup. So I was messing around that maybe that's what he was going to do. So there's kind of that conspiracy theory right now that maybe it was a big to the UFC to say, hey, I want out. I don't even want to be with you anymore. I'm just going to take the money and run. I'm just going to do a stupid kick and make a big, you know, show. It's kind of like when Shawn Michaels had that stupid reaction to the Stone Cold Stunner and he was like doing somersaults and everything and oversold it because he was mad at the promotion. It's identical to that. Look it up. So that's kind of one line of thinking to try to just force their hand so that we don't have these kind of shenanigans anymore. I am leaning toward, I think he was already injured and I don't think that's, you know, bipartisan. I understand that I could say something like that and people will immediately go, Cope! But, you know, I think even a Max fan could say that. And I think it's funny because, man, Max handled this poorly. He handled this very poorly. I didn't even notice it until I watched the replay again right now before recording this. As Conor was walking out, and you could hear the audience booing because not only did they pay so much for their tickets, I think the cheapest tickets were like $900. I'm not sure if that's true. Not only did they pay for their tickets, they traveled from who knows how far, hotels, all the inconvenience of dealing with the traffic and the people, every crazy hoops that people must have gone through to be there. And as Conor's walking out, Max says something along the lines of, woo, I guess now we get the trilogy. Come on, boys, let's get this money. And the fans are like, dude, you already got my money. That's why I'm booing. I'm upset. You know how long I saved up for this? I'm in debt now. I took off work and I didn't even have days to take off. I told my boss that I was sick. I hope they didn't see me on the Titantron. I might lose my job because of this. So he's walking out and Max is like, woo, money, 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 which looks terrible. And then he keeps talking about, oh, I made him weak in the knees. And he keeps saying it over and over again like he's on Kill Tony. He's trying to get people to laugh or something. It's like he's been working this material. He just keeps using it over and over again. And then Joe Rogan actually had to correct him. It's funny. Joe said something like, well, it'd be nice to see the actual fight. And you can see Max kind of like, what do you mean by that? So Joe Rogan's even like, dude, I would like to see an actual fight. And I said this in my video yesterday. And there were people defensive about it, but it's because I know people hate Conor. And I've never liked Conor either. But I'm trying to be an MMA truther. This was a rained out game. We didn't see a fight. This was not a fight. This was even less of a fight. than the Joshua Van thing, because at least in that moment, Joshua Van caught something and did something with it and made him laugh. This was all Conor. Conor Jim carried himself. When he's beating himself up in the bathroom, that's what happened. It was a rained out game. And I know I saw a couple of people trying to pick at that metaphor as if that's the issue here. Like, if you want, I could sit down and think of an even better metaphor for you just to let you understand that there was no fight. But that's the point. At the end of it, there wasn't a real fight. No matter how, dude, I don't want to talk about people's kids. I mean, I was thinking about some of the crowd responses right now from like Max Holloway's lady and his son. At first, I thought his son was MGK, but I guess that's his son now. And his lady, and she's out there like celebrating. It's like, dude, there was no fight. Anyway, and there was a video, and I've seen it since then on other channels. I saw it on the MMA Holes channel. So I want to shout out Moss and the MMA Holes if you want to look at that. He posted footage of Conor McGregor apparently leading up to the fight, going into some kind of physical therapy facility. And now people are like, excuse me? So this was known about? How's he going and getting therapy without insurance and UFC and staff and all that knowing about this? Now, who knows? People go all the time. Maybe he went and got a massage. I don't know. But it doesn't look good. And you could go check that out if you want. There's footage of it and everything. I'm not going to put it here. So, I want to give credit and respect to the people where I actually saw. So you could, MMA Holes just uploaded a video about that. But I believe he was injured, and I think he didn't care because he wanted to get out of his contract already. And people are saying, if he was injured, why the heck would he have come out and done that kick? And I'm like, it's like when people were confused about what leg he should have been on and which one was injured. How do people not see this? That's exactly why he did that. It reminded me, and I think I even said this on the stream last night, it reminded me of that scene at the end of the Chinese Connection with Bruce Lee, where he knows he's getting arrested, and he's like, tell me the truth. If I go with you, will you leave the Wing Chun school alone? The truth. Remember at the end? You remember that one? And then the guy's like, yeah, sure. And then he walks out and he goes, ah! And then he just does a jumping sidekick to all the dudes with guns, and he goes out in a blaze of glory. Because he's like, I'm going to die. So he's like, I might as well go out like on my terms. It's like when I play video games. I was playing a video game the other day. I had no ammo and a lot of monsters in front of me, right? And I was like, I only got one Molotov cocktail. That's all I got. I'm going to chuck it at them, and then if I die after that, I'm going to die. But what else am I going to do? There's no other options. I'm limited to the way that they designed the game. I can't even sit there and trash talk them. I got one Molotov cocktail. It's my Hail Mary. Ironically, that was Conor's Hail Mary. He's newly Catholic. So Hail Mary, that was his Hail Mary. He just was like, well, whatever. I have one leg to stand on. I can't go through a whole 5 rounds like this. I'm going to go out and do a crazy Derek Lewis looking silly kick. And if it lands, beautiful. That'll be hilarious. And if it doesn't, I get my money. Who cares about the UFC? They don't want to let me out of my contract. So, I mean, nothing that I'm hearing people say is like, I think there's a group of people out there that really, really hate Conor McGregor, that feels that it's in their best interest if he wasn't injured before the fight, because then it's somehow a Max victory. Somehow, if he wasn't injured before the fight, somehow maybe that's not as pathetic looking for Max. I don't understand that, though. That's embarrassing to have to cling to something like that. I guess you have to after the Oliveira fight. To have to cling to something like that is pretty wild. Because aside from that, it's hard for me to understand why would anybody fight the information at hand that he appeared to be injured before the fight. Why are you against that? Again, there's the ceremonial weigh-in footage. There is the footage right before the fight. There's all this crazy looking faces like he was walking to his execution, if you care about that at all. There's the weird defensiveness about Dana White. Also, I said this in yesterday's video, I believe. Everyone's like, where's he at during fight week? There was no footage. There's no training footage. What's happening? He's not in the embedded, doing all his stuff. He's not uploading. Maybe he was hurt, and it was known that he was hurt. And why is he going to be showing training footage if he's hurt? And there's the footage from the physical therapy place. And there was a lot of people were mentioning at the press conference, the pre-fight press conference, that Dana White was acting very annoyed, very agitated, very impatient, a way that we've never seen him at a Conor McGregor event, at a Conor McGregor press conference. It was like if Conor McGregor was like his ex or something. He didn't want to entertain anything. He didn't want to humor him. He didn't want to play into it. He just seemed like he didn't want to be there. Now, this is the same guy that's defending the fact, no, he wasn't injured. Like, it was a little bit too much, Dana. Relax. So maybe this whole time he's like, how the heck are we gonna get away with this? How's this gonna play out? Is he gonna be hobbling to the face-off? Is he even gonna be able to pull it off? How is it like maybe he knew something too? Dana White at that press conference looked the way that Conor looked at the fight. So it's like, how many people were potentially in on this? And again, like I mentioned yesterday, Conor McGregor didn't act in the moment like if it was spontaneous. Remember how he acted. And some of this I'm repeating myself because maybe people didn't watch the video yesterday. But when Conor's leg broke against Poirier, he lost his mind. He exploded. He blew up. He was crazy. He couldn't believe it. When it happened with Max, it was like, that's a shame. You know, it was like something that was already kind of marinating back there. And then when it happened, he's like, are you ever doing something like sometimes maybe I'm carrying some dishes or something and I'm like, you know what? Kind of not doing this too intelligently. I kind of feel like I'm going to drop something. Whatever. I'm in a hurry. I don't want to take another. And then I drop something and it's like, yep. Okay. You get it? So it was very much that in the moment. Now, I'm not saying, and I think it's important to say this because of all the people that are saying he knew there's pre-existing, he knew, Dana knew, UFC knew. I don't think I've heard anybody say this. And maybe they don't think it's important. I do. I don't believe Max knew. And maybe some of you are hearing me say that and you're like, duh, bro. But I just want to make that clear. Apparently, I'm learning you got to make things painfully clear for certain viewers. I don't think Max knew. He definitely wasn't acting like, I do think he's at a part in his career. He's like on that Cowboy Cerrone arc and fine, it's a job. You got a family, fine. It's just about money. The fact that he was already talking about the trilogy and about money in that moment is crazy. But I don't think Max knew. I don't think Max had anything to do with it. I don't think it's something they're in together just to get the third. I don't think it was like that. I think Conor knew. I think there's enough footage to show that. I mean, for me, just seeing him hobble right before the fight when he was taking off his shoes the exact same way that he did at the ceremonial weigh-ins, that was it for me. There's some people that are like, bro, haven't you ever taken off or put on shoes before? You never done that? You never hobbled a little, lost your balance? Okay, the ceremonial weigh-ins and right before the fight, it's just, and then what happened, it's too much. It's too convenient. It's too weird. Now, we've all seen fighters get out of their shoes right there hundreds, thousands of times. You see it, 20-something times a event? I don't see that too often at all. Do you? Send me some screenshots. I don't know. We always watch these events together. We see the walkouts. We see them getting looped up, checking their fingernails, their cups and all that. I've never seen dudes stumble around and hop around and lose their balance. But we saw Conor do it twice in less than 48 hours. And then what followed happened. It just doesn't look good. And For anybody that still doesn't know this, it was a different leg. Can't believe I have to say this. It was not the same leg that he went in with from the prior injury. That's his good leg. That's his Terminator leg. That leg's been reinforced. It was his other leg. Now, again, I'm not claiming to know all because it's very interesting that you can't see anything on the footage. You can't see anything. The doctor couldn't see anything. And you know the doctor wants to be able to put a diagnosis on it. He couldn't see anything. Now, we may get information. We may see stuff. We may see x-rays and maybe it's obliterated. Maybe. But, you know, we've also seen photos like that from Tomas Aspinall. You know, I have Photoshop too, Aspinall. So I think NASA produced the Aspinall photos. But let's not get into that right now. Anyway, I thought those were some things that I just had to touch on. If you didn't see the Dana White thing, that's just like the final nail in the coffin right there. That was way too much, bro. And I wanted to clear up the thing with why he was on the leg he was and taking the weight off. I can't believe some people don't understand that. And then there's the footage of him warming up backstage. I'm glad I remember this right now. He's showing the kicks backstage and warming up. And I had to ask the viewers last night in the chat. I was like, okay, I'm ignorant on this. Does anybody have any kind of knowledge of would he have been able to even go in there if he had some kind of pre-existing injury? Like if it blew out right there, you know, isn't a blowout like on the spot? Like how could it have been something existing before? And they related it to like NBA players that go in all the time with a little bit of a strain or sprain or whatever, some kind of something that they're working on, they're trying to rehab, and then it just it's just like when you get a little creak in something, now boom, the levee breaks. And that made sense to me. So there's that footage of him training backstage, and then a lot of people have already seen it. There's that moment, and if you haven't seen it, it's on the UFC's Twitter page. You can scroll down a little bit, and you see him training backstage, and there's a moment where he lands, and he kind of like, with his left foot, is kind of touching his right foot and leg, like, ooh, that was interesting. Like, ooh, what's that? Which I don't think would have been the first time that he felt something, because that's after the ceremonial weigh-ins where he was already acting weird. And it's kind of weird that people are so confused about how did he even walk to the cage then? How did he walk to the face-off during the weigh-ins? How did he walk at the press conference? We see people walk all the time when they have some sort of something, not feeling good or injured, but not all the way full-blown out or whatever. So, I mean, if he's doing anything short of full-blown fighting with another dude trying to incapacitate him, he might still look pretty good. By the way, when they were showing that footage, I mean, it didn't impress me. It didn't throw me off or confuse me. When he's backstage doing that pad work, he doesn't look good. He looks off balance. It looks like the dude, especially if you hear the sound, the way that it looks, and then when you line that up with the sound, it almost feels like the dude holding the pads is doing more work than him. It seems more like the dude with the pads is coming down on his leg than Conor is meeting it. He looks off balance. He's not really, it doesn't look like there's a lot of ferociousness behind that kick. And I don't think that throws off the narrative at all that he had something pre-existing. For me, I see him kicking like that right before a fight, right before one of the, maybe because of the circumstances, biggest fights of his life. And those aren't kicks the kind of kicks that I would hope to see when he was my pick, you know? So I don't think that changes anything. I'm not trying to come at anybody or upset anybody that thinks that he's not injured and that he's faking it. I do think he came out a little quickly saying I wasn't injured, and he's tweeting a little bit much. And it kind of feels like how Dana was doing a little bit too much, like a little bit of defensiveness and damage control. So there's that to be considered as well. So there's a world. I mean, look at what we're talking about here. Not only are we talking about Conor McGregor and Dana White and the UFC, it's just sports in general. It's just betting in general. I heard some people saying that the betting lines changed like dramatically right before, like somebody knew he had an injury. Who knows? There's definitely that world. Let's not be naive. There's definitely that world. Like, have you guys never heard? I mean, Google some stuff about sports and refs and betting and fighters. I mean, it happens. You know, people kill each other too, right? People rob stores. People kill each other. Like, bad things happen. You guys know that, right? So there is a world in which He's faking it. And he's mad at the UFC. They're mad at him. He wants out. He's going to keep playing stupid games and taking the money. There is a world in which I think I'm leaning toward, that he was injured. And there's plenty of things I think that lead to it. I have to be honest, I can't be convinced that he wasn't injured before. With everything at our fingertips, I cannot be convinced that happened in the cage because of the things we saw before and his reaction or lack thereof afterward. Especially because remember when he lost to Poirier and he's just bawling backstage. He's crying. He's sitting there. He's waiting for Dana to come talk to him. He's talking with his family, his team. This one, he's like, it was very matter of fact, and he just walked out of there, got in the Escalade and dipped. It wasn't like this meteorite just came and obliterated his world, and I don't know where this came from, and blindsided him. He had to go sit down and gather his thoughts and cry in the locker room. No. He was like, and he just walked straight out and went to the car, and he was gone. He didn't need to take that moment. He didn't need to take that beat. He's like, let's go home. Yeah. Anyway, if I'm going to be doing this kind of stuff and making these kind of videos and talking about this kind of stuff, I felt like there's no way I can't show this Dana White thing and kind of try to clear some of these things up. It would drive me crazy. I'm seeing some really ignorant comments, and I just could not let that go. If there's anything that you think I'm missing, let me know in the comment section.